What is going on, Houston, Texas? Man, the next few months for the Houston Texans are going to be interesting. To be honest, Houston sports overall, we got a bunch of decisions to make in all aspects. And to be honest, Texans are probably in the best position to have a rebuild, or as Honcho put it last night in Sauce, have a renovation. I think the most critical thing for the Houston Texans right now is who's going to be the general manager. I think what scares a lot of people is Jack Easterby still being in the position that he's in as acting GM. I think what scares a lot of people is the trade deadline that's coming on November 3rd. I think what scares a lot of people is the rumors of certain assets that need to be traded. And even though Deshaun has come out and said, man, those boys are not getting traded, I don't specifically think Fuller will get traded. I don't think Cooks will get traded. I don't think Cobb will get traded. But I'm not too sure about Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills has really been absent from game plan, to be honest. You know, he had a PI in the Jags game, and then we didn't see him again. So, you know, not even to get to Kiki QT, not that he has any type of value of any sort. And so when you really start to look at everything that's going on, look, I hear you guys. I know Eric Murray is trash. I know we overpaid for him. On defense, I mean, Jesus Christ, bro. I mean, just the structure of a lot of these contracts are ridiculous. I mean, and shout out to Eric Murray and his agent, man. They look, they made a minute and 10-second highlight work and get them 27 mil. Like, how that fucking happens, I have no idea. And how they're gonna try to restructure that contract, like I said, that is why the GM position is so critical. And the one guy that I've thrown out there, because I feel like can probably, if we're not talking about a rebuild, and if you're talking about a renovation, look, you take any type of property, and depending on the size of the property, which in the Houston Texans football team, you got a lot of holes. You need people in linebacker positions. You need people at the safety position. You possibly could need some corners because you might not be able to pay them all. You definitely need defensive linemen. I mean, that is a fucking priority. So there is a lot of holes on the defense that eventually this team has to say, we have to stop putting Band-Aids. And usually for teams, that means, okay, we don't have the money, let's go to the draft. But you and I know where we stand with this fucking draft. We don't have a first round pick. We don't have a second round pick. This is why you hear shit like, let's trade J.J. Watt. You're not going to get a first round pick for J.J. Watt unless you're packaging him with a wide receiver and a linebacker probably. And even then, you're looking at Kenny Stills, who's going to need to get paid, depending on what he wants to get paid, and everything that comes with him, the baggage that comes with him. A team has to be willing to take on that. With McKinney, we've heard about trade rumors before. You got to have somebody willing to do it. I don't think this is the time to let McKinney go, to be honest with you guys. That's creating another hole that at this particular moment you cannot afford to create. And you need to restructure a lot of deals. And you see me rambling, you see me going everywhere because it's like you try to zero in on a specific point, and it's like, fuck, but what about this other thing? What about this other thing? And what about this other thing? And it's like that with the Houston Texans. So, you know, a normal team would have drafted, but my guy, to get this fixed, when you talk about properties, you talk about renovating, usually gets done within a year. If you're looking for a one-year solution, the GM that I would propose to be able to do that is John Dorsey, man. John Dorsey loaded the Browns with a ton of talent. Did the timing help them? Yes. OBJ needing to be traded. The Giants wanted to betrayed OBJ. Cool. Kareem Hunt being cut from the Chiefs because of his case. Cool. All these things helped them. But there are a lot of free agents that are coming loose. There are a lot of people discontent. I don't think I've ever seen this many players discontent with teams. I mean, look at Yannick. he got traded from the Jags to the Vikings, and within 2 weeks, he's already out of the Vikings. Like, we're seeing shit that doesn't normally happen. Now, besides GM, what is the second biggest factor for the Houston Texans in this renovation? And that's going to be how the NFL decides that they're going to handle the cap post-COVID. Prior to the NFL season, the last conversation the NFL had was about allowing teams to take on certain players' salary, and your highest players, or the people that have your highest contracts, you could split that contract with an additional 3 years of what they're owed and pay that money towards the player. How that gets worked out with the NFLPA, it's going to be interesting because, again, players want their money. If you have a salary of, let's say, $100,000 a year, and COVID happens and the company brings you into the office and says, you know, they're passing this law that we're able to split your salary $100,000 within 3 years. How happy are you going to be your shit being split 33.3% to bring out, you know, I mean, Jesus, bro. That is a huge thing. So I think it benefits you from a aspect where maybe your lower contracts, it doesn't make that big of an impact, but it's still cutting people and players money. So that is still in the air. And then the third thing is this GM has to be willing to put in the right coach. A lot of people say this team needs a defensive mind. I don't think any defensive mind can come in and get this talent and get it to work. I really don't. You guys talk about Salih, whatever you want to call him, from the 49ers. I haven't seen enough from him. To be honest, I'm a guy who thinks they should bring Eric Bieniemy, and I still feel like I haven't seen enough of Eric Bieniemy. So, you know, with the Salah thing, it's so tricky because you don't truly know. The dude just got blown out by the Dolphins, bro. I mean, the Dolphins is an average at best team. So, yeah, he came out of the Super Bowl. Yes, he wasn't able to stop Mahomes. Yes, Eric Bieniemy was on the other side. And yes, they do have talent that they drafted, first-round picks that they have, people that they've added in free agency that has helped that defense. And so I think it's 50-50. I think it's the talent, and I think it's also Salah. We don't got the talent on this defense. So for you to bring Salah as a head coach, I still feel like we're not in a better position than we are now. Because, yes, we've talked about hypotheticals. People have hit me on Twitter about hypotheticals, about the fact that, well, you know, you can hire a good OC and then he can take over defensive line. Again, the talent. Again, the GM. Those are all factors. This is why I'd rather have somebody that can at least elevate our offense to say we're going to average 35 points per game. Our defense might be trash for a year or two, but at least we're going to average 35 points for a game. You bring me a defensive mind head coach, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen on offense because you got to bring in an offensive coordinator. And yes, I've seen many names thrown out there. The Green Bay Packers head coach, his brother, Arthur Smith, has been thrown out there from the Titans. The Titans are not putting up 30-plus points every game. Is that happening? No. And you have no guarantee that these guys want to come in. We know Eric Bieniemy wants a head coaching job. We know Deshaun Watson is attractive. We know Will Fuller is attractive. I think that is their best option. I have another guy, but I'm not going to mention him because he has a college program to coach. And to get him, it would be a miracle, to be honest. And so that's a guy who I'm willing to bring in because I know he can bring in the staff. He's proven that he can switch DCs and OCs year after year, and they still are putting 80 points in a college game. So, you know, but I'm not going to mention him because I know how everybody feels about that particular role. But I still think Eric Bieniemy is the best shot for this team. I still think if you want to bring in talent, if you want to restructure contracts, if you only want to have a 2-year turnaround, John Dorsey is your best option. I mean, John Dorsey is used to moving around, so him having to come in here for 2 years, do his job, and move around, and put us in a better position, I don't have a problem with that. Honestly, I don't even think John Dorsey has a problem with that. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen. But I do know the first thing the Texans have on their agenda is to restructure contracts, because you got to create space to bring in people, man. The fact that where we stand right now, not having money to bring in people, you still got to re-sign Will Fuller. I know he's not going to demand a big payday, but on top of that, you still got linemen coming up. You still got certain defensive guys coming up. And you need to create space now, especially if you need to bring in talent. And thank God that at least, yes, this year we don't have a first, second round pick, but at least next year we do. And I just hope that stays, because the Texans need to add draft picks. They don't need to continue to lose draft picks unless the shit makes sense. And it's got to make sense. And it's got to be almost a guarantee that the player that you bring in is, initially, for sure he's going to make an impact no matter what. AKA Hopkins going to the Cardinals. They knew that move was not gonna bust in their face or be an egg on their face. They knew that for sure. But anyways, man, this is my spill on a Friday. You know what it is every day, baby. It is H-Town. Let's get it.